Dear Diploma CET aspirants, in this video we will be seeing the concept related to data models, scheme, schemas and instances and different database languages, then database instances, database interfaces, then what are the different classification uh, of database management system, then we'll be seeing entity types and the definition of entity set, then different types of attribute and keys. Now before begin with this concept data model, we should know the concept of data abstraction. Data abstraction refers referred as the separation of data of details of data organization and storage and the highlighting of the essential features for an improved understanding of data. It means that whatever the data you have stored into the database, that database has stored in your secondary storage, and that data should not be visible to the user its actual structure of the database. It means that we are going to hide the detailed data organization into the storage. Just we are viewing or seeing the content of database, but how the database has stored into the secondary storage, that is hidden from the user. That concept we call it as a data abstraction. Data abstraction is nothing but it is the hiding the data details, the structure of data stored on the secondary storage from the user. That concept we call it as data abstraction. Then in this concept, all this in database management system, most questions come as the definition. So if you understand definition, you can easily fetch the marks. Next comes with the data model. What is the model? Model is a collection. Data model is a collection of concept that can be used to describe the structure of database. We use different models here. We use different models. That models are going to use for describing the structure of database. Structure means how the data has stored in our secondary storage as a database in the form of database. For describing such structure of database, we use some models. Such models we call them as a data models. Data models definition goes like this: data model is a collection of concept that can be used to describe the structure of database. We have different categories of data models. We have high level data models. Those high level data models are also called conceptual data model. Then we have low level data model. Those are also called physical data model. Then third category is representational or implementation data model. Here high level data model or conceptual data model provides concepts that are close to the way many users perceive the data. At the end user, how exactly user is going to accept the data from the database, that we are going to represent in the form of high level data model. But whatever the data the user is seeing on the screen, the same representation will not be there on your secondary storage, will not be there on your any storage media where a database has been stored. That that what the user is going to see the database at front or on the screen, that will be different, and what the exactly the database has been stored on the storage is different. So the high level means our conceptual data model means how the user is going to see the database on the screen. That is your high level conceptual data model. Low level or physical data model uh, provides concept that describes the details of how data is stored on the computer storage or any secondary storage. It means that, as I said, what the user has seen the database structure or data on the screen, that is your high level or conceptual data model, but the same thing will not be stored, or in same format it has not stored in the secondary storage, but whatever the actual the storage of database in secondary storage, that we call it as a low level or physical data model. How the data has been stored on the secondary storage, such model we call it as a low level or physical data model. In between these two, we have one more class, we call it as a representational or implementation data model. This representational data model provides concept that may be easily understood by end users, but that are not too far removed from the way data is organized in computer storage. It means that representational or implementation data model are in between high level and low level data models. These are useful how the data is implemented on your system, or on your storage is important. Such type of models we call it as a implementation model or a representation model. These are very easily understood by the end users. There should not be any complexity in understanding the data model. Such models we call them as a representational or implementational data models. Next is very important concept, entity. This entity attribute relationship we are again studying in next video. Uh, they usually ask the definition of these for your exam. An entity represents a real world object or concept. Whatever the real world fact is there, that we can be considered as an entity. Example, suppose student is there. Student is an real world object. It has existence, and that student has some properties. So such concept or object we call it as an entity. Example, one more example I can give is your employee. Employee has an existence and it is a real world fact. So this entity can be stored on the secondary storage, and it has the it has the meaning in real world entity, real world. So then that we call it as an entity. It represents a real world object or concept. For that we have example employee, we have student, we have department, etc. Then what is an attribute? Attribute represents some property of interest that describes an entity. Every entity has its properties. Then that each property is going to describe the entity. Example, we have a student as an entity. That student has some properties like student name, student marks, then student roll number. These are the attributes of the student entity. These are the properties of this entity. These all properties are going to describe the student entity. So these are all related to the student. They are going to describe the entity. Example, suppose student has the roll number. It is this roll number is going to describe the student entity. Then student name is this attribute is going to describe the student entity. Same, if I have the entity student, then if I have salary as an attribute or property, then this salary does not represent, or that attribute does not have the property for that particular student, because that salary is unrelated to that student entity. It means that every attribute should represent some property of interest that describes an entity. In employee table, employee entity, that employee has its own property like employee name, employee salary, then employee ID. Usually we call it as SSN, social security number. So these are the properties for that employee. Those all property are going to describe for particular entity. Those property you call them as them as attributes. Next, a relationship. A relationship among two or more entity represents an association among the entity. Suppose if I have more than one entity in my database, if there is a association or a relationship among these entities, that I can show in the form of relationship. Example, in employee table we have employee as an entity, we have one more entity as department. This employee and department are two entities. They have relationship because each employee can work in some department. So here the relationship can be uh, employee XYZ can works on some department ABC. That relationship we can make for different entities in our database. Next important concept is schemas and instances. The description of database is called the database schema. Schema is nothing but you are going to represent the database by assigning the constraint, by assigning the data type. uh, when you assign data type, when you assign any constraint for that database, that becomes your schema. Schema is nothing but you are going to describe the database by assigning some uh, uh, data types and constraint for that database. That we call it as a database schema. So many in question paper he asks the definition of schema. It is nothing but simply it is a description of database, is we call it as a database schema. Then the same database if I represent in the form of diagrams, then that diagram we call it as a data schema diagrams. Here is one example for the schema diagram. We have two entities here. One is student, one more is course. This student has an attribute name, student number, class and major. And for second entity course, we have attributes like course name, course number, credit hours and department. Now I have shown for student entity I have given the name as attribute, student number, class and major. These are the attributes for student. When I assign the data type for this name, student number, class and major along with some constraint, that structure, the description of this entity will become a database schema. So if I represent these entity along with attributes in the form of diagram, those diagram we call them as a schema diagram. Next comes is database state or snapshot. In many question paper he has asked the definition of this one. The data in the database at particular moment in time is called database state or snapshot. Suppose I have a uh, entity called student. In that entity student, the name can be xyz, student number can be 10, class can be 12 and major can be CS. These are the data for particular student entity. Whatever the data is there at particular moment of time, that we call it as a data state or snapshot. The data can be changed over a time. Suppose I have a Mars. Uh, Today I have Mars. I got Mars for first internal as 20, and next time for second internal I may get 15. this data can be changed over a period of time, but at a particular point of time what the database contains the data, that we call it as a database state or snapshot. This is also called current set of occurrences or the instances in the database. We call usually as the instances. Instances is nothing but the current set of occurrences in your database. We call them as a instance. Next, next is database languages. We have different database languages. This concept is also important. He may ask the abbreviation of these database languages, or he may ask the what these languages do with your database. We have different database languages: data definition language, storage definition language, view definition language, and data manipulation language. Each language has different capability to perform the operation. First, data definition language is used by the database administrator and by database designer to define both conceptual and internal schemas. Here, for your diploma CET, there is no syllabus for three schema architecture. Here, this three schema architecture, we have a low level schema, high level schema, then conceptual schema, conceptual schemas. For low level means we are going to understand the structure of your database storage, how the data has stored in your database, that we are going to study in low level schema. Then conceptual high level, how the data is going to represent at the end to the user end, that we call it as a high level schema. Conceptual schema is in between low level as well as high level, that we call it as a conceptual schema. Three schema architecture, we call them as a three schema architecture. There our data definition language comes under your conceptual as well as internal schema. That low level is also called internal schema. This DDL will define the low level internal schema, conceptual schema. That conceptual schema is nothing but it is going to identify the constraint and it is going to specify the data type for particular database. Then the second type of language we are going to use as storage definition language. These are going to specify the internal schema of your database, how the database has been stored on your secondary storage. The third type of language is view definition language, is used to specify user view and their mapping to the conceptual schema. When you database has been represented on onto the screen for the user, but whatever the user is going to say, that is the it is not the internal schema, it will be different. So we need to map this conceptual schema with the internal schema. How that internal schema is going to represent as the conceptual schema, that we call it as a data definition language. Using this data definition language, we are going to represent internal schema as conceptual schema. Next is data manipulation language. This provides a set of operations or languages called data manipulation language. Here we have two data manipulation language: high level or non-procedural and low level or procedural data manipulation language. In this data manipulation language, we have different operation: update, modify. This operation we can perform on data manipulation languages. Next is database interfaces. We have different types of database interfaces, how the user is going to interact with the database, in which form the user is going to interact with the database. We have different interfaces. One is menu based interface for web client and browser. Web client and browser. Then we have form based interfaces. Then we have user graphical user interface, those are called GUIs. Natural language interfaces. Then speech input and output. Next, interfaces for parametric users. Then last one is interfaces for database administrator. Now in this menu based interfaces for web client or browsing is, normally you are going to use web browser as your client for any client server communication. So we use some menus. This visually we use with respect to your online banking systems or any commercial applications. We are going to have the drop down menu. There we are going to choose some options that will connect to the database. Using these browser, we can connect with the database. The second form of database interface is form based interfaces. In form based interfaces, example, if you are there is a database, then you are filling your online application, then you are going to interact with the database with the help of the online forms. You are going to enter your data, and once you click the submit button, that all data will goes and stores into the database. That type of interface we call it as a form based interfaces. The third category is graphical user interface. Those are called GUIs, graphical user interface. With the help of some usage of the mouse and keyboard, you are going to interact with the database with the help of some shortcut keys, or by clicking the mouse we can interact with the database. Fourth is natural language processing. With the help of command we can easily interact with the database. Natural language processing means we use some command based command based input, and through that we can interact with the database. Normally in DOS operating system, we are going to use the command based itself. Then speech input and output. Nowadays the database connection is most related to speech input and output for connecting the database. Like you might be heard about Google Assistant and your Amazon Alexa. Those are all Google assistants for speech recognition. They are going to take your speech and they will be processed in another way, and they are going to connect to the database. This is what the speech input, or we may get the output. Suppose if I enter in next generation, we may have, instead of entering your registration number, you just say your registration number as a voice, that will be recorded and that will be processed, and that system is going to recognize your USN or registration number, and the it will connect to the database. The database will be fetched and displayed on the user. Such type of interfaces we call them as a speech input and output. Next one is interfaces for parametric users. These parametric users we have seen with end users. Parametric end users are nothing but they have fixed or frequently performing operations. Like in banking system, they are going to perform, the cashier is going to perform fixed functionality. Like he want to take the cash deposit, he is going to perform some fixed operation. When he is going to withdraw the money, he is going to perform some fixed operation. So for them, they will provide some parametric interfaces. With that parametric interfaces, they are going to perform the fixed or frequently used operations. Next one is interfaces for the DBA, database administrator. If database administrator wants to manage or administer the database, then he has his own interfaces. Through that interfaces, he can interact with the database. Next, We have classification of database management system. Classification can be done based on some parameter, those are called criteria. First criteria is data model, second one is number of users, third one is number of sites, then fourth one is cost, then fifth one is types of access path. Types of access path. Here classification can be done, database management system classification can be done based on the data models. Data models are the these data models, as I said in previous, it is the description of your database. We use different data models, relational data model, then we use object model, and some other type of models we use for our data model. This is a parameter for specifying the classifying the database management system. Next metric is number of users. Based on the number of users the database management system is using, based on that we can also classify the database management system. If the database if the number of users are less, then the database management system will be different. If the number of database users are more, then uh, then the database management system will be different. Next, sorry, okay. Next is number of sites. This number of sites is depends on the database is using whether it is using on the same location, or the same database it is using at a different location. This third criteria will specify which data, whether the database is centralized database, whether it is distributed database. Centralized means the database will be there in particular location, then all users are going to access the database. Sometime what happens, the same database has distributed in different locations. Based on that we are going to classify the database management system. Next criteria is cost. Depending on the cost of the database management system or database, we can also classify the database management system. Last criteria is type of access path. This type of access path means in which way you are going to access the database is very important. In which way you are going to access the data, like this access path options for storing files. We use different accessing methods, parallel access, serial access. For how we are going to access the database, that is also important. Based on these we are going to classify the database management system. Next we have entity types and entity sets. As we explained in previous slide, entity is a thing in real world with an independent existence. Independent, it has the some fact, and that can be stored on your secondary storage. Example for this entity we have seen as student, employee. These student and employee are the real world fact or objects. This can be used as an entity, and these attributes are the properties for the given entity. Then the definition of entity type goes like this. Entity type defines a collection or set of entities that have some attribute. Now this entity type specify the collection of entities. Each database can have different entities. It can be student, or it can be employee. Employee can have other entities like department, then we have location, etc. then these all are going to describe the same collection of entity type, that we call it as a entity type. The collection of all entities of particular entity type in database at any point in time, we call it as a entity set. Sometime what happens, some entity are going to represent some database at particular point of time. What are the entities are going to represent the database, those entity set we call it as a the collection of such entity we call it as a entity set. Next is a key attribute. An entity type has one or more attributes whose values are distinct for individual entity in the entity set. Such an attribute is called key attribute. Every entity has one attribute. That attribute is going to uh, identified in distinguishly, means uniquely identified. Example, for student entity, that student entity has a roll number. That roll number is an attribute. That roll number can be considered as the key attribute because it is going to uniquely or distinctly identify the whole entity set, whole entity, because there is no duplicate data in your roll number. But if I take name as key entity, each key, value in that name can have duplicate data. So which attribute that represents the uniqueness, that we call it as a key attribute. Next is attribute and keys. We have different types of attributes. This is also important. Composite versus simple. Those simple are also called atomic attributes. Single valued versus multi-valued attribute. Stored versus derived attribute. Null values and complex attribute. First we'll see composite versus simple or atomic attributes. Composite attribute can be divided into smaller subparts. These attribute have the sub attribute, like suppose I have taken address. Address can have sub attribute, like address is an attribute. Under this address we can have street number, we can have area number, area name, and we can have zip pin code also. This address has sub parts. Such attribute we call it as a composite attribute. We have other type attribute, simple attribute. These attribute are not divisible, are called simple or atomic attribute. Example for such attribute are pin, postal index number. That postal index number cannot be divided further. Next is single valued versus multi-valued attribute. Attribute has a single value for particular entity. Such attributes are called single valued attribute. Example, uh, these attribute have single values, they don't have the duplicate values. Like suppose age, suppose I have age 25. This age 25 will have a single value, it does not have multiple values, but in multi-valued attribute, that particular attribute can have more than one value. Example, suppose I have completed my BE engineering and I also completed MTech. I have 2 degrees here. If I have an attribute called degree, then this attribute degree can have 2 values. One is BE and one more is MTech. It means that each attribute can have more than one values. Such type of attribute are called multi-valued attribute. If any attribute has a single value, that we call it as a single value attribute. Example for that single value attribute is age. Age cannot have more than one value, it has only single value. Next we have stored versus derived attribute. This stored versus derived attribute, two values are related. Example for stored attribute is, if I ask what is your date of birth. If I say 1995, this 1995 is my stored attribute. Based on this stored attribute, I can get to know what is my age. what is my age after knowing the 1995 as my date of birth. My age will be for up to date, it will be 25 age. So it means that this date of birth has the stored value. From that we have derived the age. We have derived the age, that 1995 is the stored date of birth, is the stored attribute, and whatever the value you got from that one, it is a derived attribute. Age is an derived attribute. How I got that age? I got it from the date of birth. Date of birth is an stored attribute and age is the derived attribute. And we have other types of attribute, means null attributes. Sometime we need to keep our data base attribute values as null, because we may not known for those values, or sometime those attributes are not applicable, or uh, those are not applicable, or those are not known for that one. Suppose I am having not known, means I have the value but I don't know or remember that values, that can be known as unknown values. Like if there is a attribute, it is saying Aadhaar number, but you have the Aadhaar number, but if you don't know the Aadhaar number, you can leave it as a null value. That shows it is not unknown value. One more is not applicable. You have the student database. If there is a option attribute called PAN card number, that for student it is not necessary to have the PAN card detail, that can be used as not applicable. Well, this all comes under your null values. Then we have complex attributes. Complex attributes have the values, they are going to represent in complex manner, because each attribute has its own sub attribute. Again, that sub attribute can have their sub attributes. There is a complexity among these attributes. Such attributes are called complex attribute. In next class we'll be seeing relational models. Thank you.